Welcome to the Revenue Cycle Rundown with Keybridge Medical Revenue Care. Our live show features respected industry experts that will take us on a deeper dive into today's hottest rev cycle topics. We're glad you're here for the rundown. Let's get started.
Good morning, folks. We're happy you're here. My name is Brian Garver, Senior Vice President at Keybridge Medical Revenue Care. It's Good Friday, and it's an honor to be alive and well and have a healthy family, and just a great day to be here. We've got a very special guest that I'm thrilled to have on our show, the Revenue Cycle Rundown, Bill Eikost from Nemadji. And Bill is someone who I met early in my healthcare career. And, it doesn't take long, and you folks know what I mean. It doesn't take long when you start to identify certain people in your world that you're like, you know what? They're special. They're someone that you want to be connected to. You want to get to know better. You want to be more like them. We talk to our team here at Keybridge about that a lot, about who are those folks out there in the industry. And you see them out there and you're like, you know what? I want to be more like that. And Bill's always been one of those guys. So welcome to the show, Bill.
Hey, man, I appreciate that introduction. So instead of be like Mike, you want to be like Ike. There you go. Brian, it's great to be with you, man. I really appreciate you having me. This is a great opportunity.
Yep, it's a great opportunity for us to chat, share what's going on in the world of healthcare, because there's a lot shaken here in the end of March of 2024. A lot of things going on. A lot of healthcare organizations struggling through some of the challenges that have been dumped on them.
Yeah, we're all in it together, man. We're all in it together.
Yeah, amen. But I want to talk about you for a moment before we get into that business world. Because, at the end of the day, as people have heard me say many times, a very famous person here in Ohio named Woody Hayes said, "You win with people." And that's one of my quotes that I love to share from Woody Hayes, because no matter what we're challenged with, no matter what we're trying to accomplish in our lives, personally or professionally, you win with people. So I want to talk about people for a moment. And, and that people is Bill Eikost. This morning, I woke up early and I'm laying there in bed, literally. It's still dark. I turn on the lamp, and a book that's been laying on my bedside table that I've been wanting to dig into was like screaming at me, like, pick me up, open me up. So I did, and I started just thumbing through it, Bill, and it talks about, dare to matter, choosing an unstuck and unapologetic life of significance. And that word significance it hit me like a ton of bricks this morning, and I don't even know why, but significance. Let's think about that for a second. And it made me think about you in our chat this morning, because, I think of significant people in my personal life and in my professional life. And I think of you and your lovely wife, Jan, and I hear about your boys and your upcoming expansion of your family with a grandchild, and just, and then I think about Bill Eikost on a professional level too, and the significant part that you play in other people's lives. Tell me, Bill, what you believe a life of significance is, and how you've modeled that. Because I would say you've definitely been significantly successful at it.
Well, that's a great point, and I appreciate you bringing that up, and I appreciate the compliment. For me, it probably starts. I feel really fortunate to have had a great upbringing. Both of my parents, my mom and my dad. My dad's been gone for a number of years, but boy, oh boy, he was a great role model. My mom continues to be a wonderful influence in my life and in our family's life. For my dad, it was about doing unto others as you'd have them do unto you, and it really is just the golden rule. And I've really tried to continue that both in my personal and professional life. I think it's a bit of a love language for me, is just being of service to others and trying to lift people up. I mean, I know that we've all got a story, we've all got stuff that we're dealing with, and for me, I just like to think that I can be a little bit of a bright spot in somebody's day, whether it's a simple text on their birthday. A quick example, how often are we reminded of somebody's birthday on LinkedIn or Facebook, right? And instead of just saying happy birthday, because LinkedIn will give you, they'll give you what you want, what they want you to say. Try to add a little something, personalize it or something, and I think that can go a long way. I just, for me in the professional world, sure, I'm out there representing Nemadji, sharing with people the value that our services can bring. But at the same time, I just enjoy the relationship part of it so much. And I know what an important component it is to having a successful business. And so I'm just really trying to nurture those relationships. I've told you before, I spend a little bit of time on social media and probably more than I should in reality, but I like to keep up with what's going on in people's lives. Some of these conferences, we don't see each other, but maybe quarterly. And, if I know I'm going to see somebody, I'd like to know that, hey, maybe their daughter just got married, or maybe their son just graduated from college, or maybe they had a new grandbaby, or maybe a parent passed away or something. I like to be sort of tuned into some of that stuff. It's more, I connect better, I think, when I do that, as opposed to just, right away kicking into whatever it is that we're trying to sell or whatever,
Yeah. Have you always been that way?
Just being genuine and authentic. Yeah, there were times in my life, I'm sure, where I was maybe a little more selfish about that and didn't so much care. And I also think that over time you have to, there's certain people that you invest more in, and there's certain people that you begin to invest less in. I mean, there are a lot of people demanding our time, and you have to decide where you want to spend that time. But I again, growing up, I was always believed, people are good. People are genuinely good until they prove you otherwise. And so, yeah, I just feel like I've always tried to look for the genuine good in people. I can't walk down a hallway or I probably do in an airport, but I can't walk down a hallway and pass somebody without at least acknowledging them. I mean, when I'm walking in my neighborhood, every car that comes past me, man, whether they're neighbors or not, it's just a nod of the head or a wave,
Yeah.
And, it's second nature for me. And
it's so contagious. Bill, I mean, I've been on this earth for 54 wonderful years, and I've learned through life experiences, painful ones and great ones, that life is really, professionally and personally, whatever energy you put out, that is what you get back.
Yeah.
And I see that in you. I mean, you put such a positive spin and positive energy into things and into other people's lives. And I see you get it tenfold in return. Would you say that's true?
Absolutely. It's not a hard thing to do either. I mean, I don't think you can put it out there expecting anything in return. You just have to do it as part of who you are. And, if you expect a response on everything, you're going to be disappointed. But there's always those examples from time to time that somebody says, I just really appreciate that so much. Or, you kind of stayed with me or encouraged me through a difficult time. And I'm coming out of it, or I'm on the other side, and I just really appreciate it. Gosh, every little bit helps. I have a few people every week that I just send a Monday encouraging text to, for the week, telling them to have a good week. And I'd love to do it with more people, but they're just a select few that I've talked to that I really feel like would appreciate it. So yeah,
I love
it's important.
Well,
it's about being kind, man.
It is, brother. It is. And my mom, I've always said that, much like you, I've had the just the honor of being brought up by two wonderful people. And not everybody on earth, unfortunately, gets that privilege to have that. So you and I had a head start, and it really set in on us. But I think of my mom. I mean, she's a lot like we were saying. There's a special place in heaven for my mother, Kathy Garver, if you're out there. She is just the kindest soul, and she goes out of her way every day to make other people feel special.
Yeah.
And to talk about them and compliment them and find the good things going on in their life. And it all comes back to her. I mean, she's the most popular gal in Venice, Florida. I mean, she's got more friends than she needs.
Sounds like my mom up in the Toledo, Perrysburg area of Ohio.
Yeah. So, hey, let's jump into some healthcare provider world, even though I could sit and talk about the people aspect.
Yeah, we might want to do another session to get into this even further. This is good stuff.
Because it's a really critical topic too. And I think a lot of people that are listening probably would love to just dive into that human aspect of the healthcare world and the personal world. But I'm curious what your thoughts are in 2024, Bill, about the landscape that exists in healthcare today, whether it's within their teams and their people and leadership, or whether it's in the context of the business of healthcare revenue itself. What are you seeing out there? What are your thoughts on that existing landscape?
Yeah, I think if we just all got together and wrote down on paper the way it's supposed to look, I think we could come up with a pretty good looking model. The challenge just continues to be that, this industry will throw you a lot of curveballs. I'm concerned about payer provider relations. I see a lot of disconnect there, and inequities with revenue and whatnot. There are a lot of things that the folks are going into work every day expecting to do, but then all of a sudden not being able to do. Let's take the most recent cyber attack incident, right? I mean, that just another example of sort of a curveball that this industry is, will throw you. And but at the same time, there's so many people out there that are just working so hard to not only push through this, but to be successful in their own organizations. And I think it's really important. You mentioned earlier the importance of people. I think it comes down to, it's so important to create a good culture, a positive culture, a culture where you're lifting each other up, supporting each other, celebrating your wins. But at the same time, knowing that when you have the down days, to keep pushing through, because you sort of know what you got into, and you just have to do the best you can together collectively. It shouldn't always fall on any one person, but a lot of times the revenue cycle leader, for example, is the one who feels the overwhelming responsibility to make things work the way they're supposed to work. But the reality is they're only as good as the people they surround themselves with, and they need to encourage those people, celebrate those people, and stay connected with those people so that they stay motivated and engaged as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I see a lot of healthcare organizations really kind of being challenged with leadership roles. I mean, whether it's a director in rev cycle, a VP in rev cycle, a CFO, It doesn't matter. I mean, are you seeing that as well? I mean, how does the bench strength feel right now in the industry to you? It just seems like there's not even enough people to tackle these massive challenges that we have.
Yeah, there are a lot of openings right now at some of those high level positions. And, you've heard me say before that I think the next generation of revenue cycle leaders is kind of a short list. And that concerns me. There are a lot of great frontline mid-level managers who have the skills and the qualities that just need to be nurtured and developed, or they just need to be encouraged to have the confidence and the courage to take some of those leadership roles. But if I'm a CFO and I'm trying to find a good revenue cycle leader, and I find I can't find them or afford the one that I want, then maybe my only alternative is to look at outsourcing the whole darn thing. And I'm just not, I'm not 100% sure that's always the best solution. So, I think we need to do a better job of succession planning. I think we need to, I would encourage not just revenue cycle leaders, but anybody, sales leaders, operational leaders in some of the business partner organizations to, find those people that you see as having a lot of potential, and just, be one of the people that lifts them up and says, you're doing a super job. And we really appreciate what you're doing here, but we've got great things in mind for you, and we think you could even do more than what you're doing today. How do you feel about that? What do you feel like you need to do to get to that level of confidence and take on some of those added roles?
Yeah, I agree with you. I would challenge healthcare leaders, in the revenue cycle space, to find that person within their organization, or 2 or 3 or 5, and encourage them.
Yeah.
Let them know that they've got the potential and that they should put themselves out there, because we need them. And
a lot of people don't realize this is a career path. They don't come out of college looking to be revenue cycle leaders necessarily. And And, they need to know that it's an admirable profession. They can be successful at it, and, ask a lot of questions. For me, I've always been a student of the industry. I haven't sat on the provider side of the desk. And however, my dad was in healthcare for 30 years and in a different capacity on the payer side. And I just ask a lot of questions, and, don't get stuck in a silo where all you do. For me, for example, as a business development person with a business partner, if all I do is stay in our little lane of what we do, I'm going to miss a whole lot, right? I try to understand what's happening in the revenue cycle through the whole continuum, so that I really have an appreciation for how what happens on the front end of the revenue cycle, for example, impacts what happens on the back end, and some of the factors in between. I just think it's really important to try to have an appreciation and understanding of it. And in fact, I start a lot of my meetings just, hey, what's the latest? What are some of the things you're facing right now?
Absolutely. Same. So, you said a word earlier, Bill, and you used the word confidence. And I agree. I think there's people out there that have so much potential, but I wonder if they just feel like, well, no, that's not me, or no, I can't see myself in that leadership role or that next advanced, level of leadership.
Yeah.
And I would encourage them, you might be surprised. Put yourself in there, and I think you would surprise yourself.
Yeah. It used to be you had to have a college degree or even a master's for some of these roles. And I'm hearing that that's just not even necessary anymore. If you've got significant years of experience, you can move into some of those positions. But I also, over the years, have encouraged people who have said, yeah, I'm they're in their 30s or whatever, or later. Sometimes it's saying, I'm looking to try to finish my degree. And I say, go for it. I said, you won't regret it, and you'll be happy that you did. And I think it's so important.
There's a real issue, obviously, as we all know, with clinical healthcare resources, but on the business and revenue cycle side, it exists at a tremendous, painful level was there as well. I had the honor last summer of being part of the Kentucky Hospital Association's their executive board retreat down in Florida, going with them on that. And at that executive board retreat for the Kentucky Hospital Association, this was and it still is a huge initiative. They're finding ways to get in front of high school students, now, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, seniors, and start thinking about the business side of healthcare and the clinical side too. It's getting a bad rap out there on social media. I mean, you see what's going on with the nursing, the burnout, nurses leaving the profession. We gotta change that mindset, but we also need to continue to promote the business side. And it really starts with these young minds, even in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, thinking, hey, I want to work in healthcare, but not clinically. I want to help be an efficient operations manager or business manager of it.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned the burnout component of it. Just to put a quick little plug in, I'm actually putting a session together for HFMA for a chapter on managing professional burnout. I'm not an expert. I'm not certified in the topic, but I just think it's an important conversation to have. And so I reached out to a lot of my revenue cycle contacts around the country for what are they doing? What are their tips or tricks or thoughts on managing professional burnout, both for themselves and for their teams? And I'm really getting some great feedback. And I look forward to putting that together in a presentation for later on in May. And, who knows, there might be some interest to talk at some other.
Well, I would say that's going to be a hot presentation for all HFMA chapters or other association chapters, and even healthcare providers alike, having a third party come in and speak to them about that. So I'll be interested in seeing you out there and presenting that. That's a great topic. Yep. Speaking of that, before we run out of time, we try to keep this somewhat short and sweet. On the revenue cycle rundown. You've been so involved in those third-party associations that support the healthcare industry. HFMA comes to mind. And we've seen a struggle with providers finding justification to support those chapters and participate at maybe the level they used to. What are your thoughts on that, number one? And it all ties in when I'm sitting there thinking about what we just talked about with bench strength and mentoring. If they're not doing that, where are they doing it? Where are they getting the help and the education and the networking?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Brian. I joined HFMA in 1989.
Oh, gee.
I was, and I've been an engaged member ever since. I mean, there was a period there for a while. We had about 4 meetings a year in Georgia. I went for years without missing a meeting. I mean, for years. And I think the first ones I did was because we were about to have a baby. And I think the other one was we just had a baby. And so it was, I missed a couple of those, but I just really made a point of being there. HFMA, I can't imagine anybody being a healthcare financial professional and not having HFMA or even AHAM in their professional development toolkit. I mean, not only does it provide education, I mentioned earlier that I try to be a student of the industry. I've learned so much through the association, which is, by the way, well over 100,000 members now, and more than 60 chapters across the country. But the networking and the relationships that I've built, I joke and say I could go into most any city around the country, and if I was driving, had a flat tire, or needed something, or just wanted to grab coffee, there's probably somebody through my HFMA network I could call that would help me out or would be willing to get together with me. I mean, It's just been, I just enjoy it so much, and it means it's so valuable. I mean, they've seen my kids grow up. My wife has attended a lot of conferences with me, but I think it's so important. I see hospitals, a lot of hospital organizations today that still sort of live in a silo. And what I mean by that is I think they're all the answers to the challenges and the questions that they have are being solved within their own four walls. And that's great. Maybe some organizations are able to do that. But I think when you get out and make a point of attending HFMA, you're collaborating with your peers, you're reminding yourself that you're not on an island by yourself, that other organizations are facing a lot of these same challenges. And I'll tell you too, it's a chance to kind of fill up your bucket, as you'll say, with a nice little break out of the office. And I promise you that job will be waiting for you when you get back from that 2 or 2.5 day conference. But I do realize there are sometimes some things that need attending to that just won't allow you to be there. But when you see the save the date or whatever, hey, put it on your calendar if you can. The volunteers are trying to do a wonderful job of putting together some really great programs. The National Association is doing some wonderful things to get providers engaged and involved. And so I can't say enough about it. If anybody wants to try to figure out how to justify it to their boss or whatever, by all means, reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you put something together.
Appreciate that, Bill. You've always been a great advocate for that association. And, for all the providers out there and really anybody in our industry, I mean, I think about this and I talk about it in some of my master classes. I mean, there's a lot of talented people out there on this earth.
Absolutely.
But there's a difference between a talented person and a talented person that's filled with passion and jet fuel, that's emotionally connected to what they're trying to accomplish. Yep. And that, to me, is what these associations do. Not only does it help raise the bar of talent and education, but it really provides emotional connection to the industry, jet fuel, passion, and you just watch yourself soar. I mean, imagine your career if you had never become part of that association and had all the connections, the networking, the jet fuel, the passion, the emotional connection. I mean, imagine what it would be.
I have friends in other industries that I'm sure don't have anything like what HFMA provides. And I want to give a quick shout out to AHAM too, and some of the other associations, ACHE and here in Georgia. Here in Georgia, we've got Gamma for access managers, and the associations. A lot of them provide content and opportunity at a lot of different levels. Sometimes it's just a one-day event, right? You just need to jump in the car and drive an hour and a half to get to the location, and you come away feeling really good. So,
agreed.
Just can't say enough about it. It's really awesome.
Well, Bill, I just want to thank you again for being part of our life here at KeyBridge, part of the industry's world. You're one of those folks that lifts it up to a higher level. Everybody you come in contact with, and I want to say it openly and honestly. You're appreciated, and you mean to a lot of people.
Let me throw back at you too, Brian. You've given some great presentations. I've sat in on many of those, and I try to throw you some good questions.
You do,
so that we can prove that it's not all rehearsed and memorized. That and you just do a super job. You bring it every time, and I just want to acknowledge your team of business development folks and many of the others. But Robin and Susan and Zach. I look forward to meeting Zach. I haven't met him yet, but he's up in the Midwest, and of course I run into Robin and Susan a lot. They're just the consummate professionals. They're always adding value to every conference that they attend, and they're just all around good people. And that goes for you as well. And Kylene, who I know is behind the scenes today, as well as some others. Scott has really built a great company and culture there at Keybridge, and I wish you all nothing but the best.
Thank you, Bill. Plans for Easter with the fam?
Yeah, our youngest son gets married in July, and so his fiance's family's invited us over for Easter. They're about an hour and a half away, so we're gonna do that. It's gonna be beautiful weather here in Atlanta all weekend. We're in allergy season down here, so I'm doing my best to kind of keep all that at bay. I mean, my red car is yellow from all of the pollen, but it's yeah. How about you?
Yeah, family. The girls are coming home from college and from work. My two daughters, so they're going to be in town. We're going to go over to Sally's brother and sisters. They're having the whole family in for the Easter holiday. So looking forward to eating and catching up with everybody. And then here in Lima, Ohio, Bill, we've got the eclipse coming up on April 8th.
Oh,
We're in total darkness. I mean, we're in
that's
that
a
little
big
strip.
deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. I saw yesterday where people's spring break travels are impacted by this. I mean, people are going to where the eclipse is going to take place.
That's right.
Businesses, aren't they? Isn't school out or something?
Yeah, schools are out. Companies are closed. I mean, our little town of Lima has about 35,000 people-ish, okay? Maybe 40. We're expecting nearly 300,000 people to embark upon Lima on April 8th. I mean, that's a big. It's going to be chaos.
Wow, that's something.
Yeah, all the hotels are sold out. Campsites are sold out. I mean, there's people camping in RVs. There's farmers that are allowing people to come park their RVs and things in their property. I mean, it's a big deal.
Wow, you'll have to get out there and set up a lemonade stand or something.
Oh, yeah, man.
Hand out Keybridge brochures and all that good stuff.
Well, hey, have a great weekend. Tell Jan and the folks I said hello, and we'll see you down the road soon at a future event, Bill.
Same to you, buddy. I appreciate the time today. Really enjoyed being with you.
Thank you.
Happy Easter to everybody.